A single point
what is
out of the team for
FA Cup champions?
This week on Swishing the Nets, basketball in 5 minutes, we are going to take a look at the two teams who are going to represent Sri Lanka in the upcoming 2018 FIBA 3x3 Asia Cup, which is going to be held in China over the coming weekend. In the 2018 edition, Sri Lanka does not have the luxury to play in the main draw. Hence, we will first go on to play the qualifiers in both men and women's categories. First, let's take a look at the men's team. The team that's going to represent Sri Lanka in 2018, there is no difference with the team in 2017. It's pretty much the same team, the same 4 players who toured to Mongolia to represent Sri Lanka in 2018. The team comprises of Sudesh Paiva, Timothy Nithushan, Clinton Thevakuma and Arnold Brent. In terms of challenges for the Sri Lankan team, the prime challenge for them would be after last December, where the 2017 Asia Cup was held. Up until now, up until April 2018, Sri Lanka has not played competitive 3x3 basketball, not international, no domestic tournaments as well. So that will be the main prime challenge for the Sri Lanka team, because in the middle of this long break of 3 to 4 months, Sri Lanka domestic competition such as Colombo Super League operated, which is a totally different format, the 5-on-5 format, which is very different from the 3x3, and the players, almost all the 4 players participated in the Colombo Super League. So the prime challenge for them will be, without no competitive 3x3 basketball, no international experience for 3 to 4 months, and playing 5-on-5 basketball in the break, how are they going to adapt into this new format change? How are they going to turn this and make sure they get the strategies, the practice, preparation right, and go on and represent Sri Lanka internationally in the world stage? So to know what the preparations were like, how did they adapt into this format really soon, what are the strategies for the upcoming Asia Cup, we met with the Sri Lanka men's national 3x3 team, and this is what they told us.
Once the team was announced, we started practices without any delay. So we started off with a conditioning part, since we had a big break after the Colombo Super League and the selection 3-on-3 tournament. We had a practice session on daily basis while having a break once in every 5 days. Also, we have been shooting more 3 points during the practice sessions because we have planned some plays for this, where we can apply in pressure moments during the game. Because we have the speed advantage, it is easy for us to penetrate and pass the ball out for a 3-point shot. That is why we have been shooting 3 points more this time, so that we can be a real threat to the other teams as well. There will be a pressure, small pressure on us, because we have to play in the qualifiers and top the group to get into the main draw. And at the same time, we will have more advantage because the same team from the last year's tournament is participating in this year as well. And we all know our strength and weaknesses, so that will be a great advantage for us, which will take off our pressure during the game. In the last year's tournament, we faced the Asian heavyweights, Chinese Taipei and Kazakhstan in group stages. We lost both matches, but more importantly, we showed them what we are capable in the 3-on-3 format, as we went down to Chinese Taipei by only 4 points in the first match, putting up a massive fight. Since we have done a lot of shooting and game plans this time for this year's tournament, we believe that we will be able to put up a great performance and make our country proud.
Well, as they told us, even though the last outing was not really the best outing for Sri Lanka, they did show the world of what type of 3x3 basketball, what brand of 3x3 basketball Sri Lanka is playing. And for sure, these 4 players, Sudesh Paiva, Timothy Nithushan, both have adequate experience in the international arena across both formats. Sudesh and Timothy have played the 3x3 World Cup as well. And when speaking of Clinton Thevakuma, there is no introduction needed for this player on his game sense, his speed, his agility, and how quickly he can adapt into different game situations. And of course, the young Arnold Brent, who was ranked #1 player in the Sri Lanka 3x3 arena in the men's category, and he has been representing Sri Lanka from the under 18 age, representing the Asia Cups and the world stage in 3x3. So he also even though he comes into this team as a young team member, he has enough and more experience to compete in this international level together with his seniors. So in terms of experience, Sri Lanka is on point, and Sri Lanka will be looking to really use that experience and to combine it with the practice and the strategies that they did and really break barriers in the upcoming 2018 edition. There will be two qualifiers played on the 27th of April at 11:30 a.m. and 2:30 p.m. respectively. Sri Lanka will take on Thailand in the first match, and the second match will be played between Sri Lanka versus South Korea. And on the 28th, there will be another two qualifiers at 10:40 a.m. and 2:20 p.m. respectively. Sri Lanka will take on Malaysia and Sri Lanka will take on Uzbekistan. And the final qualifier match will be played on the 29th of April 2018 at 7:40 a.m. Sri Lankan time. Sri Lanka will take on Vanuatu. That's the qualifying draw schedule for Sri Lanka men's team. And next up, we will take a look at the women's team. Well, speaking about the Sri Lanka women's team who's going to represent Sri Lanka in the 2018 Asia Cup, there is no difference. The selectors, we have to give credit for them. They have done a very fair selection. They've done justice for the players in both the men's and the women's category. The number one players are included, and the experience has been accounted for. In the women's team, it's Solanji Gunaviche, Imesha Tatsarani, Anjali Ekanayaka and the young Lubna Moset. The key factor, young Lubna Moset coming into this 3x3 arena is very important. She has immense talent under her belt, and she is one prospect that will really bring value and bring back glory to Sri Lanka in the upcoming years. So it is very important that the administrators and the selectors give her that enough experience and international exposure at this very young age so that she could build her career on this. And it's a very good move that young Lubna Moset has been included in this team together with the three seniors, Anjali Ekanayaka, Imesha Tatsarani and Solanji Gunaviche. Imesha Tatsarani, of course, she was also ranked Sri Lanka's #1 3x3 player for 2018 in the women's category, and Solanji has enough and more experience under her belt in both the formats to go and represent Sri Lanka, so as Anjali. So with these three seniors and Lubna putting in her young power, young strength, it will be really good for Sri Lanka to go out there and break barriers. We did meet them as well and ask them what are their challenges and what type of practice, preparations and strategies they have for the upcoming Asia Cup. This is what they told us.
So we've been practicing for about a month now. We've been practicing at Gateway Rajagiriya. So Selva had been coaching the girls and the boys team, both of us. So mainly we've been focusing on our shooting, our three-pointers, and how to penetrate inside when a tall person is there to drag them out and go inside. And yeah, mostly our shots. So yeah, it's been a great pleasure playing with the national team. I've played a few matches with them, but now I feel like I'm more close to them and I can combine well with them.
Well, just like Lubna said, those are the strategies that they've been looking and practicing on for the upcoming 2018 Asia Cup. In terms of challenges for the women's team, there is no difference. Just like the men's team, it is the same key factor that Sri Lanka has not been playing competitive 3x3 basketball for the last 3 to 4 months. And that will be the only barrier that stays between Sri Lanka and wins for matches. But if not, experience is accounted for, talent is accounted for, the strategies, the practice, the preparations are all on point. And if the girls and the boys could just go out there and execute the plans, we could have really good hopes for Sri Lanka in the upcoming Asia Cup. It's all about the shots from outside the arc and penetrating in and making sure that you get your defense right. And with the experience, Sri Lanka should be able to go a very long way. If we talk about the fixtures of the qualifying draw for Sri Lanka women's team, on the 28th of April, Sri Lanka will play their first match at 11:20 a.m. Sri Lankan time versus Samoa, and the second match will be at 3:20 p.m. Sri Lanka versus Australia, which will be the tough match for the Sri Lankan girls, because Australia have been having their own 3x3 league for quite some time now, and they've been on and off playing really good competitive 3x3 basketball. So even though they are playing the qualifying draw, their standards are rated pretty high. And apart from that, Thailand will take on Sri Lanka in the final qualifier on the 29th of April at 10:10 a.m. and that will conclude the qualifying draw for Sri Lanka. So even though Sri Lanka versus Australia is going to be a tough match, given that Sri Lanka beat Samoa and Thailand. The Sri Lanka women's team should have a fair chance to get into the main draw and really make it count for 2018. Well, with that, we will conclude this week's Swishing the Nets basketball in 5 minutes, and when we meet next week, we will take a look and analyze what happened to Sri Lanka in the Asia Cup and how did they fare their game this time for 2018. Until next time, keep showing the passion together with us.